Hello everyone, welcome to your first week's lecture on CSC281. Before we get into the actual coding of this lecture, I wanted to cover a bit of the basics of what these videos will be formatted as. In each week of this course, you're going to have access to these notes, such as CSC281 Week 1 notes. You can see it up here at the top, that's what the file name will be. Now, when I'm doing this video, I'm going to be referencing the notes with a bit more information as well. What I will be doing during the video is such as getting started in Java. The title of each section will be in the top right of this video for you to easily access visually, and I'll also have them timestamped. So if you're ever reviewing notes for the final or for a certain quiz and you kind of forgot about a certain section, you could go ahead and look at the timestamp and say, okay, I need some help with compilation versus interpretation again, and just jump to that section. There's going to be two main differences that we want to focus on coming from Python to Java. The first is that Python is an interpreted language while Java is a compiled language. And the second is that Python is a dynamically typed language while Java is a statically typed language. Kind of think of it as Python is kind of more free-flowing. You don't have to be as stern or strict about items going on, whereas Java is a lot more strict about things that need to go on. And you'll notice that even when the way our items are structured here, to even make a piece of Java code run, I have to create a package and then, or excuse me, a project and then a package, import these libraries and make sure everything's running easily. Whereas with idle, I have a pretty quick way to access my code and to get it running right away. So if you don't have Python installed on your computer, that's fine. You can just watch the video to follow along. But if you do, I would like you to try to create a Python program with me that goes ahead and just says hello world. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Python. And what I'm going to do inside of this Python script I have here is go ahead and just make a program that says hello world. So easily enough, I can just type out print hello world. And now if I try to run this here, I might need to save my file. So I'm just going to save this to my desktop. I'm just going to call it test for the time being. And now when I actually run my file, you'll notice that I get the hello world there. So after we made that hello world program in Python, I want to try to make it in Java. So what I'm going to do first is go ahead and make a new package for myself. I'm just going to call this package week 1, just to make sure everything's kind of organized there. And inside of this week 1 package, I'm going to go to right click, new, and then class. You can also go up to file and new the same way. Now I'm going to call this hello world, similar to my Python file. And I'm also going to make sure that this method stub is checked. If it's not checked, you can just copy and paste the code in. Once you start coding enough in Java, you'll kind of memorize this snippet of code. But for the time being, you can just copy over this method stub. So I'm going to hit finish. And we'll notice here I already have quite a bit of code, and I haven't even hit my point yet. If I try to look at my idle code over here, I have my print hello world. And if I try running this code that I already made, we'll notice nothing happens. So what I'm going to need to try to do is go ahead and print this out. And there's a method here called system.out.println, which is going to go ahead and print out a line of a string for us. So I'm going to say this is going to be hello world, like this one, and then I'm going to run my code. Now you'll notice already here that these two pieces of code give us the same effect, but look how much more code I have in Java. So this is where Java gets a bit different from Python. I immediately have a lot more code to work with. I have to kind of layer it in a way where it makes sense. And this is because Java is really good if you want to make programs that have a lot of projects and files in them. So if you're making a very expansive application or anything like that, you're going to want to rely on Java because it uses some principles that we're going to reference pretty soon. Now I want to talk a bit about interpretation versus compilation. And one of the ways that we can do this is kind of talk about what the really are at the high level. So when we're talking about compiling a program or a program that is compiler based, what that means is that your program is going to look at every single piece of code, make sure that there's no errors, bundle it all up, and then run it. That's what compilation means. Java is a statically compiled language. So what that means is that it goes ahead and looks for any errors wherever. And if it does find it, it will not allow you to run your code. And one way that we can demonstrate this is that our code right now is running just fine. And let me try to run it a second time with a second string, hello world 2. And let me try to put in a hello world of tree. And let me put out the semicolon. You'll notice that once I run this code, I get this error. And you'll notice that none of the other statements are printed out there. So now what happens here inside of my Python file, if I go ahead and print out test 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe underneath this one. And then let's just say that I declare variable a and set it to 5, and I print my a. What do folks think might happen if I run this code? Let me go ahead and type in my practice code. And I might just actually automate this myself like so. Now we'll see that I actually get my hello world, I get my test 1, 2, 3, 4, but I get this error where I'm referencing an undefined variable a before it is actually given a value. So we'll see here, this is an immediate difference between an interpreted and a compiled language. Java will not run these two hello worlds before this third one because there's an error inside of its code, whereas Python will run any piece of code that it looks at before it hits an error. Awesome. So after the compilation and interpretation and the Java virtual machine notes, you'll notice that there's quite a few notes about how to set up project files. And I just want to show you how I usually do it on my end. Again, can vary as you get more good at it and you do it more often. But to get started, what we could do is go to File, New, Java Project. And inside of this Java project, I'm just going to call this a Hello World project. And I'm not going to create a module info Java file. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. Inside of there is fine. You can just go ahead and hit finish as well. And if I open up this Java project, you can see I have a source folder. I have a default package in here. So after the Java virtual machine bytecode information, you'll see a lot of notes about setting up projects. And I just want to give you a visualization of doing this ourselves. So what I'm going to go do is go to File, New, and Java project. And inside of this Java project, I'm just going to say hello project. And I'm not going to click the create module info Java file. I'm just going to hit finish. And inside of here, you'll see a source folder with nothing inside of it. Now, every time you make a class in Java, a class file, it's going to want to be stored in a package. If you don't declare a package and, for instance, go to new and class like that, it will give you a default package. We don't really want that because it causes a few issues. So we're just going to go ahead and hit package for our sake here. So let's go to source, make a new package. And then I'm just going to go ahead and say hello world package. And again, with conventions and everything, based on how you want to do it, you can start packages with lowercase letters and everything as well. It even said that there too, but for our purposes here, I just want to show you the process of making it up. And now inside of this package, if you right click on it, go to new class, you can then say hello world class. And then always for our class here, always make sure that you just generate the public static void method for ourselves. And I'm going to hit finish, and then I'm going to run it. Now, if I go ahead and just copy this over to here, you'll notice at the very top that if I run this code, we should be good to go. Cool. So this is essentially how we could set up our new packages and so forth as well.